Crime Curious is a true crime podcast that takes an in-depth look into real cases through the lens of a trained investigator and former prosecutor turned judge.
If you are sensitive to expletives, anatomical descriptions, and accurate descriptions of crime scenes, this podcast may not be suitable for you.
Have you or someone you love been a victim of a crime that's still unsolved? Crime Curious has teamed up with one of the top private investigation services in the Indiana and surrounding area. If you have listened to us long enough, you know that we do not seek out services or products that are meaningless to us or hold no real value. So you can trust us when we say that Corbett Investigations comes with decades of experience you won't find anyplace else. Corbett Investigations is run by a former homicide commander of one of the country's most successful homicide units, has put over 400 people in prison for homicide, handled over 1,100 death investigations, and solved 33 cold case murders. To be real with you, Mr. Corbett had a really difficult time telling us what we should highlight in this segment because he does not like to sound like he's bragging. Solving crimes has been his life's passion, and he has never done it for the accolades or recognition. He has a whole team behind his services that help him be so successful, as they specialize in things like blood stain analysis, ballistics, crime scene reconstruction, and forensic pathology, just to name a few. When you contact Corbett Investigations, you talk directly with Tim Corbett. He is hands-on with every case and can travel anywhere that's needed to get the job done. Corbett Investigations prides itself on honesty, truth, feet to the ground, real investigation work, and the strength to stand up to whatever is in the way of solving the crime. Corbett Investigations specializes in complex homicide cases, sex offenses, and criminal investigations that are old and new. Tim and his team have a reputation for finding witnesses and information that others could not. Although we hope none of our listeners ever need private investigation services, if you do, we recommend contacting Corbett Investigations and mention this segment on Crime Curious for a free consultation. Contact Tim Corbett today at 574-229-8115. You can also check them out on Facebook at Corbett Investigative Services, Inc. Thanks for listening, and now on to the show. Welcome to Crime Curious. I'm Charnell, and with me today is special guest and one of our podcast sponsors, Tim Corbett. Hi, Tim. Welcome to Crime Curious again.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing well. Megan, unfortunately, had to go out of town this weekend, and I did not want to reschedule our interview. So Megan can't join us. She's not real happy about that. She said to give you a special message that she cannot wait until the next time that we can meet up and chat, and she's really looking forward to some of our future cases that I know you have in the works that we can't talk about today, but there will be more to come, and she is very excited for that. So just welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me. And today's episode is going to be all about the private investigator life. Tim has some cases that he has recently been working on. If you've been a longtime listener, I know that you have heard our ad segment in the beginning of the episodes. Unless you're a paying subscriber, then you get ad-free episodes, but we still often send out emails and reminders of people that we have this service available. Crime Curious is happy to team up with Corbett Investigations, and people know, I think, at this point in time, we've been on the air for 3.5 years, and they know if we're endorsing something, it's because we believe in it. And we're not into podcasting just for sponsorships that only give us monetary value and no actual value to our listeners. And so we stand behind Tim Corbett and Corbett Investigations and what they do. And so today we're going to talk about some recent cases. Tim may be vague in locations and use different names for protection's sake, but still real cases, nevertheless. And then we're going to talk about what type of services that maybe people don't realize a private investigator can help with, and what that looks like, what that process looks like. So Tim Zahoot, happy to have you on again. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to turn the microphone over to you to kind of take it away with what has Corbett Investigations been up to since the last time we talked, and give us some of your most prized accolades here. Brag about yourself, if you will. And I know that's hard for you because that is not the type of man that you are, but this is your time, my friend.
Well, in about the last 6 months, I've had a run on murder for hire cases, and all three of the murder for hire cases that I've had have all revolved around a child molester.
Oh, geez.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately for these idiots, the idiots are the bad guys. I don't refer to them as Mr. So-and-so or some poor underprivileged person or anything like that. You're a child molester. You're a piece of crap in my view. And
then that's why we get along, because we give all of our perpetrators on this podcast nicknames instead of using their real names, and we don't care if we're pronouncing anything correctly, and we certainly never give them a salutation of Mr. or anything that they are deserving of.
No, so if somebody wants to hold their hand and tell them what a bad life they have, they'll have to come from somebody else like me. I'm obviously not the tree-hugging, whale-saving earth muffin. I do my job. And my job is to put you as deep into the system as what I possibly can, legally, honestly, and above board. And that's the only way it'll be conducted. But one of the first guys, he was in a county jail, and he did not know that he was talking to one of my informants. And he wanted to brag about how he had molested his own child. And he thought that was something that everybody needed to know. I don't know why. Usually, at least back in the day, those guys were on the lower rung of the ladder in prison life, because every guy in there has a mother, a sister, an aunt, a cousin, or whatever that is female, and they don't do very well with that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But in any event, this idiot decided he wanted to have the mother of his child murdered, and he wanted to have my guy help facilitate it. Well, I can't have the guy act as an agent for the state, meaning, if he got a hold of the police department, he would be under a complete different set of rules than if he is talking to me.
Sure.
And I always tell my guys, you can sit around, you can listen. If they're dumb enough to brag and talk about what they're doing, that's on them. You can't ask questions and act as an agent for the state. So that's exactly what happened. We were able to get help facilitate even more information on the child molesting case, as well as the murder for hire. Due to the information that I was able to get, the statements I was able to take, that information was passed along, and the guy was charged. And that kind of went along with the second one. Same thing. The guy was dumb enough to brag about what he did. We were smart enough to get the information and tag him with more molesting charges and a murder for hire case. Those cases can be run, the charges can be run, time can be run consecutively or concurrently. That portion of it is entirely up to the judge and the prosecution on how they do their deal. Last one was one here recently in South Bend, where a guy decided that he should lick his daughter's feet to wake her up. And when he woke her up, as he was bragging to my guy about it, another informant in another jail, he said his words, "I pulled up her pretty little pink princess nightgown, pulled her panties down, and I got in behind her. But I didn't stick it in. I just rubbed it up against her."
Oh, yeah, because that's so much better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's you're a great father. That's what all fathers do, you piece of shit.
Right.
But anyway, he decided that he wanted her killed because she had the audacity to bring forward the charges that her daughter told her about.
He wanted the mother killed because she was bringing the charges forward against him for that.
Yeah, she should have been more understanding and stood by her man and understood that this was just a little slight indiscretion and we can work through this because we care about each other. So, the Dr. Phil stuff, with the rainbows and unicorns and lollipops. And, it's always the woman's fault on why I am the way I am.
Of course. Yes.
Of course, at 5 years old, she's my daughter and you can understand how enticing she was to me. And the usual lies that they tell themselves and they think everybody else is so stupid to believe.
Yep. The justification, the way that they justify it in their mind to be able to cope with themselves because they know subconsciously what an absolute piece of garbage they are.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So he talked about what he wanted done, and to get a murder for hire, you have to have a target. So he was dumb enough to sit down, draw out a map in jail underneath a camera describing where she lived. This is her apartment. Go up the steps, turn to the right. It's the first apartment on the right. This is her name. This is what she looks like. This is what she drives. This is when she goes to work. He described her to a T. So now we have a target that he wants killed. Not injured, not scared, dead, want her gone. Second thing we have to do is have some kind of exchange of chattels of some sort. Money, drugs, a car, tools, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. They have to make a payment. Well, I got all the information, took a bunch of statements from a bunch of different people, all tape recorded, all transcribed, and I went to the police department under the jurisdiction that this would happen. Well, the one jurisdiction said, well, it's not our case, it's another jurisdiction's case. You'll have to get with them. Ugh. So I get with them and we have a meeting. They sent down one of the homicide investigators and they sent down a DB sergeant. And we had the special victims unit commander, and we met in one of their rooms. I took my book with me with all the transcriptions and sat down and told them what I had put together. And I said, this is a pretty easy case. We've already got the target. All we have to do is go pick up the item that's going to be given to us as payment. So we should be able to knock this out in a couple hours. Well, the Detective Bureau representative, he looked at me and he said, well, it's not going to get done today. Kind of indignant. And I felt a vein pop in my forehead. And I'm thinking, well, the longer we wait, the more chance the suspect who's in jail right now talking to my people, they're going to get pissed off and they're going to find somebody else that really will do it. And this girl's going to get killed. Mm-hmm. So I looked at him and I said, what do you mean it's not going to get done today? And he said, you don't understand. And another vein popped. And I thought, you know what? I was doing this job when you weren't even a thought for your dad, much less on the police department.
Right.
So I said, what do you mean I don't understand? He goes, we had a double shooting yesterday. So now I'm really pissed off. So this guy's name is Bert. So I lean forward and I go, well, Bert, can you unshoot him? And he goes, no. And I go, well, that crime's already been committed. We're trying to keep a girl from being killed.
Right.
What do you mean? He goes, well, we don't have the manpower. I go, I just seen your chief on TV not too long ago saying you're at full strength. So I don't know where that happened, but if you don't have enough manpower, why don't you call other police departments? Well, we have to have a rescue plan. I go, a rescue plan? All you need for that is 4 people. You 2 guys are sitting here right now. I'm sure if you want to go talk to your chief who wants to be the sheriff eventually, there's another one. And I'm sure he can walk down the hallway and go, hey, you're on the team. We're going to go take care of this.
Right.
Well, that didn't happen. And I'm not by now. I've heard the excuses. I'm pissed off. Your rescue team. I said, I'll tell you what. I'll go up to the door and I'll get the item. The person who's going to hand it to us has nothing. She has no idea what's going on, and I'm not worried about it. Well, what happens if something goes bad and they start shooting? And I said, I've been there before. if they shoot me, I will shoot them back, and I will self-rescue because you guys suck. and he looked at me like, what? And he said, well, it's not going to happen. So I folded up my book, and one of the ladies, the lady that's head of the special victims unit, she walks out of the office. She's gone for about 2 minutes. She comes back in, opens up the door and says, the prosecutor said, if you don't tell us who your informant is, that there's no case. I said, you tell the prosecutor they're effing idiots and they suck. Because that was complete BS.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, long story short, I started folding up my book, or I did fold up my book, and I said, I'm gonna tell all three of you guys right now, and I'm telling you from my mouth to your ears because there's witnesses. I'm telling you right now, if something happens to that woman, I not only will help them sue the city of South Bend, I will help them sue you personally. And if I were you, I would go to the local Martin's grocery store and find out if they got a sale on cat food, because that's all you're going to be eating for the rest of your freaking life, because she's going to own it. That woman there's a distinct possibility something could happen to this lady. So
oh, yeah.
We talked to her. I went out and bought a couple of things to help secure her home, make things safer for her. I put them on notice. The case is sitting up at the prosecutor's office, and I'm waiting for, what they're going to do with it. The guy is probably looking at about 35 years on the molesting, and I say hit him with the murder for hire, stack him on him, let him find somebody to spoon with for the next 70 years in prison, and let's go on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
But, the attitudes, this is some of the stuff that I see that I have zero patience for. I think fast, I act fast, I do fast, and this feet dragging and the excuses, and I don't tolerate that. I don't tolerate it.
Yeah, and we get contacted often by family members of victims that do seem to, every county in every state is just a little bit different. You have different players in each jurisdiction. And I feel like a majority of the people that reach out to us and ask us to cover their loved one's case, it goes down to, it's not a lack of evidence, of true evidence. And Megan has said this before too. It's a lack of willingness to prosecute it, to put it together and prosecute it, almost as if it is a confidence issue with the prosecutor. Like they're not confident in their own abilities to present this obvious evidence in a way that could result in a conviction. And as a private investigator, and probably also as officers out there that want to see something prosecuted, that has to be incredibly frustrating because it's out of your hands. Your job is to collect all of the relevant evidence and show how the evidence leads us to that weight of the judgment scale, right? The preponderance of evidence here, like we have without a doubt, well, it's not a preponderance. Preponderance is only 51%, but for convictions, it has to be without a reasonable doubt that this person committed this crime. And so I have to just, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I have to believe that that's got to be one of the most frustrating pieces of your job, both in your work history, your decades of history that you have as in law enforcement, but then also as a private investigator as well.
Private investigation is really no different than doing the same work
Absolutely.
as a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
My team and I, we've put over 400 people in prison for just murders. That's convictions. That's You're gone. That's not just looking at cases. I've done over 1,100 death cases, and obviously there's unexplained, undetermined, suicide, depending on the terminology people use, accidental. But it is. Why did you go to law school? To become a lawyer.
Yeah.
Why did you go to law school and become a prosecutor? To prosecute.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Are you telling me, subconsciously or otherwise, that you don't have enough ability, skill, knowledge, drive, determination to want to kick a defense attorney's ass, that you don't have enough guts to go in there and say, I'm as smart as you. Matter of fact, I'm smarter. I'm better prepared. I'm more willing to go after this, as opposed to, well, I don't know if we have it. I told a prosecutor one time, you went to law school, right? Yeah. You passed the bar and you did all this kind of stuff. Backing out of these cases and not having the guts to go after it, that's like somebody going, hey, I want to go into the adult film industry, but I don't want to get naked. It doesn't work. How does that work?
Right.
Right. It doesn't work like that. If you want to take somebody's head off, do it.
Yeah.
Don't tell me how tough it is. And I understand cases. We bring you DNA and you go, oh God, that's good, but we'd like to have a fingerprint. Okay, here's DNA and a fingerprint. Oh, that's great, but we'd really like to have it on video. Here's DNA, fingerprint, and video. Well, we'd really like to have a confession. Well, we got all that. Hell, I could try one of those cases. Those are easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to have the guts to get in there and want to do the right thing. If you don't have the motivation, go to the funeral of one of these people. Sit down and talk to the family and hear how their life has been stalled, destroyed by their mother or their kid or whatever being killed, especially on cold cases. To think these people that have perpetrated this are out, they're drinking, they're doing their drugs, they're eating, they're going on vacation, they're enjoying their grandkids, they're they're having sex, they're having a great time, and they don't even think about it. And you get the answers from some of these departments. That case isn't closed. No case is closed until we get a resolution. Your grandma's in a box on a shelf. Nobody's looking at it because you don't have a cold case unit. And I hate the term cold case, but that's what people call it.
Right.
It's
commonly known
unsolved.
as. Yep.
Yeah, it's unsolved. But, don't blow sunshine up these people's pant leg. Go out and do the work. It is rewarding, and it sounds like cliche and, kind of flowery and all that. But to give somebody an answer, you never have resolution. You have a question, you have an answer, and you have an ending. That's what you have.
Yeah.
And from that point on, you have to work with it and live with it and understand it. And I don't know, I'm kind of an enigma with some of this stuff, because I know people say, I know when I came on, don't take this stuff personal. Well, if I tell you I'm going to work for you, then that's our case. That's our kid. That's our grandma. That's not by blood, but that's how I think of it. And I think it, and I work it, and I do it. And I just can't go, hey, it's 4:00. I'm closing the book. I'm done till the next day, and I'm going to do it till 4. There's times that, God, I can remember running 30, 40 hours straight to get the answers. But that's the way it has to be.
You bring up an excellent point. The don't take it personal. I think, and I can resonate with this as a social worker, I think if you do not add that personal connection to it, you lose your motivation, because money can only motivate a person so far. And for hard work like this, it is taxing. It is mentally, physically, and emotionally exhausting and taxing, and it has to have a motivator beyond financial gain to be able to push through. And like you were saying, this is our case, this is our child, our mom. That when you put that kind of emotional connection to it, then I think that's what makes a great officer, a great even therapist. Like there's so many of the human services type of professions that's what separates the great ones from either mediocre to bad ones, is you have to have that personal connection. And it does. Megan talks about it, her and I both on the podcast frequently, where we talk about secondary trauma and things like that from the work that we do, because we do make that human connection with it. If you don't, you're really not going to be as effective, in my opinion, at it. And Megan will tell you that she has never been afraid to prosecute a case that maybe she would like to see more evidence, but she has that, not only that confidence, but she knows, she puts that human aspect into it of, listen, there is a family member out there that has, suffered. They've either suffered a loss or something really traumatic and terrible has happened to them, and they want to see justice. And if the only thing standing between that is her willingness, back when she was a prosecutor, to prosecute, she's going to go for it, and that's the type of attitude that we need. And I love how you said, for some of these prosecutors, go to the family's funeral or go talk to the family and sit down and see how this has completely upended their life. Because just as the perpetrator is still out there living normal life experiences and experiencing happiness and joy and love and all of those things, so are all the other people that have the power to bring justice. They're also still going and having dinner with their family and not always thinking about the people out there who are waiting on them to do their job, to be able to bring them peace and closure. And like you said, a resolution, an answer, some sort of ending, so that it just helps them be able to move on in some kind of way. I mean, it's never going to bring their loved one back. It's never going to undo the trauma that might have been done from, a different type of horrific case. But it brings an ending that allows for the family to move on, for everyone to move on, right? And so that is so, so important. And a lot of the cases that we do cover, there's been plenty that we've covered that Megan has said, oh my God, there was plenty of evidence here, evidence that I could figure out or find just in the searches that I do. And we do try to do deep dives into our cases. We don't do just a blasé, quick cover of a case. We try to go as deep as we can to get all of the information, and I try to fact check all of the details and things like that. But, there's been plenty of cases where Megan's like, oh my gosh, just based on your research, we have enough to prosecute. How is this still unsolved? And I think it does. It comes down to that willingness of the other side of the case to push it forward and do what they need to do. Even if you go and lose, at least you tried. I mean, I feel like sometimes people are so scared of failure that they don't even try. And that is the saddest of it all to me. Like, stop worrying about your statistics of how successful or not successful you are. At least try for the family.
Well, and go a step further. I would really like to have gotten a statement from, Sally Jones or whoever. Has anybody ever tried talking to her? Well, no. All right. Well, then track down Sally Jones and go get a statement from her.
Right.
Please, I don't want this to sound like this is the Tim Corbett show and bragging or anything like that, but I can tell you it's about talking to people. I just recently had one, a 2-year-old homicide. And I can't go into great detail, but a 2-year-old homicide hadn't been solved yet. The father came to me because the father got my name through an informant. I have so many people that talk to me. I've made a career out of networking with people like that. But anyway, the guy came to me with his girlfriend, their new baby, and a 3-year-old. And sat down and just poured his heart out. 45 minutes. That's my son, and this is a tough guy. Been in the joint. This isn't somebody that's soft. He's fighting back tears. He's fighting back anger. He's, fighting back all sorts of emotions. 45 minutes we talked, and he said, I said, you got anything else? And he said, nope. And I go, okay, if you want me on this, here's what we're going to do. And I said, and I ran down what needed to be done. But I gave him and his girlfriend a couple of assignments. I said, you got text messages here? I want you to take those to Walgreens or CVS, print them out as picture form, 4 by 6 pictures. Get them to me. I want those by tomorrow. I gave him what to do in a time limit because I want to see if you're just running your jaws or you're really invested in this. That dude called me that night. We got him. Where do you want me to meet you at? I gave him another assignment. He got that done. It was a quick dissection of the cases, literally the hours that I had in it. And I'm very proud of this work. It's not bragging, I'm just proud of it. 6 hours of my time. We had the case solved. We had it done.
Wow.
We had it through, complete, over. It's done. And it was because of pushing. It was because of following up and not sitting around with, your thumb in your mouth and your fist in your eye talking about how tough it's going to be and how hard it is. I don't listen to that crap. And it's going about doing your business and taking care of things and listening to people and finding out what they know.
Right.
About 100 pages of statements. Here's the tapes that go along with it. Here's the statements. Here's the confession. Here's the eyewitness. Here's all the things needed. And somebody's going to get spanked on this.
Right. Yep. I hear you, because even in my position that I have a whole team and we do investigations of abuse and neglect. And I am often saying, hey, did you talk to this person? Because there seems like there's information missing here. Did you talk to that person? Well, no, because I feel like I already know, what their position is on it. No, go get an actual statement from them. I want to know. And quite often it changes the course of the investigation. And so I do understand what you mean. I think that there are times it's not just laziness. I think that sometimes people have a hard time just sitting down and being conscious with their attention and focus on one case, especially in a profession where you have multiple cases that you're working at once. If you just stop and focus and go get the information that you need for one case, like you said, sometimes you have no problem going through, it's 40 hours of work straight through to get it done. That is what is needed in lines of work like this, rather than diverting attention from, well, I'm going to go over here and get this statement on this case. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to, since I'm in the neighborhood and I'm going to do that. Diverting the attention or splitting the attention that way, in my experience over the last 20 years, it delays all the cases, every case that you're trying to work on, because you're not consciously focusing on just quickly getting the information that you need on that one case. So that's awesome to hear. I'm glad that eventually someone is, like you said, going to get spanked on that. And tell me about some of your, we know a lot of people will seek out private investigation services for murder, for, various, some of the more common crimes. Do you get like home invasion, medical malpractice cases, any petty theft? Like, what are some of your other services that aren't maybe necessarily the bigger type of cases that you guys do?
I do a lot of accidents, a lot of accidents, injury cases, auto accidents, motorcycle accidents. You say you had the red light, she says had the green light, those kinds of things. I do get contacted on a lot of criminal offenses in the aspect of they closed out my case and nothing was done. I get those, and we do very well with those. I try and stay away from, I think my wife or husband is messing around on me and, that kind of stuff. I'm not interested really in those kinds of cases.
Yeah. Those kind of feel like reality TV series type cases.
Oh yeah. I don't want to hear, I think my husband's hanging out with some nerd, they're doing B&D stuff. I don't care, none of my business. I don't want to get involved in that.
Yeah.
I want to do something that, in my opinion, is going to be fruitful. It's going to help somebody. It's good, hard investigation that is needed on it. Mm-hmm. Maybe just a little bit of fine tuning. But I got to tell you, a lot of my stuff is, I don't like what happened with my case. They closed it out. They didn't do a good job. They didn't do investigations. And I think some of that comes from, these idiots to make the comments that all police are systemic racists and this and that. But I'll tell you what I do see, and I don't like it. I do see some lazy police work. I really do. Sure. That's not all of them. I see lazy prosecution, and that's not what needs to happen. If you bring forth enough information and you pound on them, things get done.
Hmm.
Okay, you have a jurisprudence degree. That's great. That's cool. You went to a lot. But if you don't have the balls to go along with it and prosecute, then that jurisprudence degree really doesn't mean a lot. And I'm not afraid to go after those people and tell them that their decisions are messed up. And here's why. And here's what we have. And here's why you should do something with it. And if somebody needs to be fronted out, police or prosecution, I'll absolutely do that, because I have a victim or victim's family staring me in the face,
Right.
wanting to know what's going to happen.
Right.
And I'm not going to take your money and go, well, it's not my problem. I did my part and you fade off into the sunset. And they're still suffering. Not only they're suffering by, a loss or, a malpractice or an injury or anything like that. They're getting screwed twice. They didn't get good police service or something from the prosecutor. And now I'm going to take your money and do the same thing. You've been victimized again. I won't do that. I just can't have that. And if we have to fight with those people, then we got to fight with them. That's just the way it is. That's why I say you have to have the buy-in on it, that this is our case. And, when I do that, I'm going to fight whatever fight needs to be fought. And I don't care if I'm popular at the end of it. Hell, if I want another friend, I'll get a dog. So I'm not going to worry about it.
Right. That is a big human aspect of this line of work, is fighting against the natural tendency of humans to want to be liked. That is something early on in my social work career. It took me about 2 years to realize what I was doing and how it was hindering my work, truly, of like caring about people thinking of me as, a nice person, or, wanting them to see me in more of a positive, cooperative light. It really did take me about 2 solid years to realize, oh my gosh, do you realize what you're doing? It does not matter. None of that matters. It doesn't. You have to let that aspect go. Like, I don't need to be your friend. I have plenty of those on my own. I need to get my job done, and it needs to be thorough and to the best of my ability, without letting any sort of the human ego in there one way or the other, either being too ego driven of, yeah, I'm the shit, or, oh, I really want you to like me, so I'm maybe not going to ask this difficult question, or, bring into the conversation how your wrongdoing has inhibited this case from moving forward, or what have you. That is a very big struggle, I think, for humans. I have a weird question, but it just popped into my head. Do you ever handle any like stalker cases? I would think that stalker cases would be a very difficult case to be able to prosecute, and to when no actual harm has come to the victim. But I have plenty of friends who have, received unwanted gifts, unwanted contact frequently. And there are some places that will not, issue a PPO or what have you. Have you ever dealt with any cases like that? Would that be something that would be appropriate for a private investigation service?
Oh, absolutely. PPOs, we do those all the time. You just have to have a good, solid basis.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at it like probable cause. You have to have probable cause to believe a crime has been, is being, or is about to be committed. And a lot of times it's just not, Charnell saying this is what happened, because I say, no, I didn't stalk her. I met her at a bar. We talked. Usual male-female relationship. We're both single. I'm hitting on you. Maybe you're not liking it. Okay, so I got shot down. I leave. Now, is that stalking? No, that's just
right.
Two people meeting or dancing or drinking or whatever. But it comes in, have I been making phone calls? Have I been driving by your house? Have I done a lot of things that I shouldn't be doing? But you also have to go back on the history of the person. What is his history and what is her history? Just because you say it doesn't make it so. You may have a history of making false reports on somebody. And the last thing I ever want to do is put somebody in prison or in a position of detriment based on lies.
Yeah.
If it's factual, I'm going to vet you just like I'm going to vet him. And if I get a feeling that, this whole story is a bunch of BS, I'm going to tell you that, and I'm out of it. I'm not going to be part of any kind of, BS like that. I'm just not going to do it. But usually you're going to find that these guys that do this have some kind of a history. So find out who they are, do a background on them, where they live, contact some people that they know, talk to ex-girlfriends. Yeah, he did the exact same thing to me. This is how he grooms these women. This is what now you've got a basis for it. And you have to, follow up with that with statements and incorporate that in the PO report. Talk to 3 different girlfriends. They've said this. Talk to his parents. They said, yes, he absolutely has problems with rejection. He's been talking about carrying a gun. You just seen on TV here just last week, a 13 or 14-year-old kid who had been talking about doing a school shooting since he's 13.
Yep.
And what does his stupid dad do? Buy him a gun.
Yep.
I mean, if that was a 13-year-old girl and she said, I would really like to have a baby, I would love to be pregnant, would you let her 13-year-old boyfriend come spend the night?
Nope.
I mean, there's common sense dictates, but some of these people are they're stupid. That's what they are. They're just stupid. But now we've lost 4 lives. 9 other people, I think, were shot. How much are they going to be traumatized? The information was out there, but according to the FBI, there wasn't enough to make an arrest. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I don't know.
Sure. No.
But there's ways of doing these things. These cases, you just have to have like I said, the drive, the determination, the skill, and the ability to want to win. And the win is keeping people safe. I'm not looking for trophies and parades and all that kind of stuff. If people survive, that is what's important. And they need to know that there are people out there that do care. And if you had a bad experience with, another PI or a police officer, that wasn't me.
Right.
That was them, not me. And it's human nature to profile, right?
Yeah.
People are going to listen to this podcast and they're going to go, man, I wonder about that dude. What's in his background? What does he look like? Is he this? Is he that? That's human nature. There's nothing wrong with that. That's your reptilian part of your brain that keeps you alive, understanding people. But do you treat me different after that because of ethnicity or sexual orientation or religion or anything like that? That's where the negative abusive profiling comes in. But everybody, every day when you meet somebody or you see somebody, you analyze them. Some people call it profiling. Some people call it analyzing. Cops have to do it immediately in a split second. They're checking you. Do you have a bulge in the front of you? Do you have a bulge on your hip? Do you have a knife? Is it on your right side? Is it in your pocket? Is it in your back pocket? Are you taking a bladed stance? Or are your eyes shifting around, looking where you're going to run? What am I going to do? Where do I have cover or concealment? What's my bet? All those things is what keeps you alive. And I've been doing that I'm in my 49th year. I'll be starting my 50th year, and I've trained over 10,000 police officers in SWAT tactics and high-risk warrant service and knife fighting, side handle, baton, handcuffing, all sorts of different aspects. And I'm not the know-it-all, do-it-all, and all that, but I do have a little bit of knowledge that I pass along to keep people safe, cops safe, women. I've trained over 2,500 in personal self-protection and rape prevention. And, to me, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to do this stuff. I'm not good at a lot of things, and I'm very realistic with myself. And I've had people say, why don't you retire and do something else? And look, I'm not going to be a greeter at Walmart. I've seen myself naked, so I know the adult film industry doesn't want me. So I'm going to have to keep doing this stuff because I like it. I enjoy it.
That's what it's your calling. Megan and I have said before that you can tell the difference in every profession when someone is in it for the right reasons, when it is their true soul's calling and it fulfills them no matter how hard the job might be. And it's that calling separates the people that are just in it because they somehow fell into a job or just like, I really want like the ego aspect, I'm, as our listeners know, that I have a lot of experience within the medical community because of my husband's medical condition. And I can separate the nurses and the doctors immediately by the way that they talk to us within the first 5 minutes, maybe even less. Like you said, you're always analyzing people, right? And I can tell the ones that are legitimately in their profession because like you're fulfilled by it. I don't know anything else. I'm not good at anything else. This is what I'm here for. From the ones that are like, well, being a nurse or being a doctor is pretty, in society's terms, it's held in high regard. It comes with a bigger paycheck for the doctors, at least. Nurses do not get paid enough. And, they have that aspect, and I've even seen it in the child welfare realm. People get into foster parenting because they think that it's really admirable, but then they don't realize how hard it really is and that they're really not good at taking care of other people's children. And so they end up clinging to this version of themselves that they wanted other people to see of them, that they wanted to be, but fact of the matter is they're just not good at it. And I think law enforcement can go into that realm too, or the generational stuff. Well, my grandpa was a police officer, my dad was a police officer, so it was expected that I was going to be, right? And it turns out this person would make a much better artist, or hell, even a Walmart greeter, than a police officer. Like, that stuff does happen in every single profession, and you have to like you said, even if you've had a bad experience with one, it does not mean, don't hold that against and overgeneralize all of them. And Megan and I tried to do that on the podcast. Like, there are wonderful police officers that do hard, wonderful investigation work. And then there's some that are not, and they don't do, their job. And so I love that you pointed out, if you have hired a private investigator in the past and it didn't work out, that's not me. Don't hold that against me, because that wasn't me. If you're still having an unresolved case or issue, come to Corbett Investigations. Let's give this a try. Take me through what it's like to work with you. You and I have spoke many times, and I feel like, although we've never met in person, we are friends, and I do look forward to the day. Megan and I have a plan for coming and meeting you on a big case that we're invested in. So that's going to be exciting, and we'll include our listeners on that. But if I had just suffered a crime, or there was something that just, didn't go the way that I thought it should, what is it like to pick up the phone, call Corbett Investigations? Take us through that process. Let's normalize hiring a private investigator on this podcast. Take us through that.
Well, I don't know how other PIs do it. I don't know if the first thing you do is quote prices and do, go through that. When you call me, and you're absolutely free to put out my number, and people can call me the minute that, this podcast is over. You're going to get, this is Tim Corbett. You're going to get me. Mm-hmm. And I'll, what can I do for you? And I would have you explain to me in as much detail as you could about what your problem is. I obviously listen to it, and I analyze it quickly. Like I said, I think quick, I act quick, I do quick. I've done so much of this in 49 plus years that it's just second nature. It's like a doctor looking at your broken elbow. He mm-hmm. doesn't have to look at your feet to know your elbow's broke, right?
Right.
You know what needs to be done. And I would tell you what I would do, how I would handle it. I would give you what I think as a fair estimate on how many hours I think it would take. Mm-hmm. And then whatever question you would have for me, I would tell you, if you want to hear about rates, I'll tell you about rates. And then I would tell you, or ask you, if you want me to do this, I can start right now, or I can't start for a couple of days because I'm in court tomorrow or whatever. And we would go from there. If you wanted to meet me in person, sit across the table from me and talk to me, I'm willing to reasonably travel. That's not an issue. Luckily, I have a great wife that she doesn't complain about my hours or travel or anything like that, because that would make it that much tougher. Mm-hmm. But I would also make a lot of inquiries to you as to, do you have copies of the reports? What kind of information do you have? Do you have people that know about what happened? Yeah. Would they be willing to talk to me? Absolutely. Have they already talked to the cops or anybody else? No, they haven't. How long is this, have they had this case? Is it closed out? What kind of answer do you think is out there? Yeah, I pick their brains too, because a lot of times people know they know stuff that they don't know that they know it, or they don't think that it's important enough.
Right.
Look, I'll talk to a freaking mannequin. I don't care. People know stuff, and they don't realize it, and it can lead to another name and another location. And I heard this and I heard that. I don't know if it's true or not, but this is what I heard. There's a lot of information sitting out there that people don't pick up on, and it's just a matter of asking the questions. And there's different ways of talking to people, and you can't just walk into a room with somebody that you're going to talk to somebody that has a higher education different than you're going to talk to somebody that has a lower education.
Yes.
I can't walk in, and if you can barely read or write and understand your rights, based on a hypothesis, I'd like to have you articulate exactly what happened at that residential scene. I'm going to walk in and probably go, "Hey man, look, I already got this. What the F happened?" And I cuss, I say it. What happened, man? Here's what's going to happen. You can either get on Team America or the bus is going to run over you. Do you think for 1 minute your buddies that you think are going to ride and die and, I'm 100% and I'm strong and all that, you think they're going to do that for you? They're going to take 30 years on a high, hard one hit for you? Let me tell you how this is going to go. You're going to get locked up. You're probably going to get raped and beat up, or beat up and raped. And you're going to call home to your 18-year-old girlfriend and go, "Oh, baby, I'm looking at 30 years. You going to hang tough with me?" Let me tell you what's going to happen, dude. She's going to put her hand over the phone. There's going to be one of your bros sitting on the couch getting ready to do what you can't do for her anymore. And she's going to go, "Oh, yeah, I wait. I'm going to wait." But she's putting her hand over the phone going, "Get out of your underwear. I'll be there in a minute."
Right.
That's what happens. They're going to kick your mama's door in. They're not going to put money on your books and all that. I'm your 100%. I'm behind you and all that. And that goes for, I don't care what nationality you are. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what you identify as. I don't care what you profile or what your pronoun is. I don't care about the 3 Ps: plumbing, pigmentation, or politics. I don't care. It's all the same.
Yep.
And you got to get that through your head, because these people don't care about you once you're locked up, because you can't do squat for them.
Right.
You can't deal the dope. You can't run with the gang. But the minute you get out, they're going to be waiting at that gate, getting ready to hand you a sack of dope and getting you to be stupid again.
Yep.
And a lot of that is on you. And those are the cold, hard facts. But many of those people are people that talk to me because they know that I tell it the way it is. I don't BS around. I'm not here to put cocoa butter on your butt and tell you what a terrible life you have. I'm telling you what's going to happen and how this is going to go.
Right. The reality.
And, I mean, let somebody else blow sunshine up your pant leg. That's not what I'm here for. And what they're going to find out, the ones that are going to hang with them are going to be their mom and maybe their dad.
Yeah.
That's who's going to be around for them. The rest of these people are fleeting. They don't care about you. They're on to their next scam.
Yep. Right. Yeah.
And that's the difference. And, do you want to know the answers? Do you want to win? Do you know what to do to put the case together? Do you know how to put all the information where people can understand it and you can draw the picture from it?
Yep.
Are people going to stick with you after you get the statements? Are there other people that know it? So there's a litany of things that can be done, but too many people are more interested in how many hours can I get out of this? How much money can I make out of this?
Excellent point. Yeah. Hadn't thought of that, Tim.
So I'm not putting a gun to your head and robbing you. I'm doing it with an ink pen.
Yeah.
And to me, that victimizes people again.
Yep.
And I'm just one of those guys. If I'm on your team, you love me. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming after you, you hate me. And that's just the way
Right.
I like it.
Right, exactly. I like that you had said earlier that you ask them, what kind of information do you think is still out there? Which gives them, it includes them instead of coming at it from an approach of, oh, yeah, okay, I've got this. I know what we're doing here. It's, wait a minute. Tell me what you think has been missed. And where do you think that we could possibly get that information from? Because you might have some ideas too, but putting them, including them in it too, is something that often I think gets forgot in a regular investigation. They kind of tend to go on their own leads and things like that. So I love that you're incorporating them as part of the investigation team. I don't know that it always feels that way for people that are going through a more conventional part of the justice system. So I love that. Tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you and Corbett Investigations.
The best way, texting and emails and all that stuff, that, you're going to go back and forth 15 times on text messages and emails. Just call me so we can talk. I can hear your voice. You can hear my voice. That way you get to know each other. It's 574-229-8115. 574-229-8115. And you have nothing to lose by making a phone call.
Right.
If you don't like me, hang up on me, call me a name, whatever. No problem. But you have nothing to lose by talking about the case, and maybe there's something there that can be done.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you rather have the answers one way or the other, as opposed to I don't want to interfere, I don't want to bother this guy. It's Saturday or Sunday. He's probably call me. Just call.
Wonderful. And you have a Facebook page too, right? Corbett Investigations, Inc.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you right at this point, there is a problem with my email. We're trying to get it fixed through a major company, organization, group. And of course, I'm probably not big enough time for them. So I'm at the bottom of the pile, but I'm being told we are one step away. And I don't even know what happened with the email. All of a sudden, poof, it was jacked up. But calling me is the best way. But
sure.
there's a thing on my Facebook. If you go to Corbett Investigations, there was also killer catchers. And if you go down the toolbar, you'll see it, killer catchers. And that's where we did about, 8 or 10 different little podcast deals where we invited family members of victims to come on and talk about what they experienced with the cops that they dealt with, us. And they were able to tell it in their own style and what they felt. And you get kind of a flavor, a feel for how we are, when the unit was still up and functioning on the police department. But, of course, politics came into it, and we had a sheriff and a police chief and a mayor that, they were all on an opposite page of what they are, and their little feelings got hurt. So they took their ball and ran and shut down that multi-jurisdictional unit that had high 80s, low 90s solve rate, recognized nationwide as one of the best in the country, but because of politics, their little feelings got hurt, so they had to, pat each other on the butt. Oh yeah, their little feelings were hurt. So, congratulations to those 3 pumpkins.
Oh, gosh. But you can listen to how people felt real life, like working, with you and the type of work that you did. So that is wonderful to know. I didn't realize that was on your Facebook page, so I'd love to check that out too. It's been wonderful talking with you. Again, as always, thank you so much. I really look forward to our future working together, because I know there's some big things that you are working on. As a matter of fact, you mentioned that you're even traveling with a victim's father later this week to deliver some paperwork. And I throw that in there just because that is the type of willingness of work that you are willing to do, because I know it's not a quick trip for you that you are doing, but you're making sure that the job gets done. And I very much look forward to when we can bring that case to our listeners and certainly get a resolution for the victim's family there. So just keep up the wonderful work. Thank you so much for your partnership with Crime Curious. And I really do look forward to talking to you again. And if anybody out there, you're feeling some kind of way about something that has happened to maybe you or your family, some work hasn't been done that you thought should be, or you have friends that you're not feeling that they have got all the justice that they deserved, reach out to Tim Corbett, and we definitely stand behind him and his investigation services. So thank you again for coming on today, and look forward to our next chit chat.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and it's an honor and a privilege to be able to do this. It really is, and I don't mean that. Those aren't just words. That's a code I live by, and I mean it. And what I'll do, that traveling that you talked about, I'll probably give you a call Tuesday evening or Wednesday and let you know how that went. But
perfect.
That's a necessity.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I look forward to that call. So, all right. Thank you so much. I hope you have a good rest of your day, Tim.
You too.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.